On Sunday, we had the last F1 race of the year, the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. And there were two big storylines here. Number one was the battle for second in the driver's standings. That's Sergio Perez against Charles Leclerc. And the other big storyline was Sebastian Vettel's final F1 race. The battle between Charles Leclerc and Sergio Perez was really fun, in my opinion. They had different tire strategies. Charles Leclerc did a one-stop strategy, meaning he only had one pit stop. Sergio Perez had two pit stops during this race. And it created a situation where, at the end of the race, Sergio Perez was hunting down Charles Leclerc. And the question was, can Sergio Perez catch Charles Leclerc before the race ends? And we were watching the gap slowly go down and down and down as Checo gained more and more ground on Charles Leclerc. It was tense. It was fun. There was no room for error and no margin for error for Charles Leclerc. He couldn't afford a lockup or any kind of mistake because any lost time would be the difference and he would lose. And it clearly meant a lot to them to try to finish second behind Max Verstappen in the driver's standings. Now, Max Verstappen won this race easily in Abu Dhabi. And at the end, Sergio Perez was unable to catch up to Charles Leclerc. He made it interesting. It was very close. And if we went like 3 more laps, definitely, maybe even 1 or 2 more laps, Sergio Perez would have caught up and passed Charles Leclerc. But as it was, Charles Leclerc got second, Sergio Perez got third, and that meant that in the driver's standings, the final driver's standings of the year, Max Verstappen obviously won the world title. Second was Charles Leclerc with 308 points. Third was Sergio Perez with 305 points. And by the way, the points that he would have got from help from Max Verstappen in Brazil ended up not mattering. Max would have been handing, by giving Perez, it would have been like 1 point, and it wouldn't have mattered anyway. So it's interesting to me. In the final driver standings, fourth is George Russell with 275 points. Fifth is Carlos Sainz with 246 points. Sixth is Lewis Hamilton with 240 points. And again, the big one here was that Charles Leclerc beat Sergio Perez by 3 points, and a bigger margin, by the way, than would have mattered given the Brazilian Grand Prix. Now, I might as well go through the final team standings. And by the way, I mentioned the Brazilian Grand Prix because there was a moment that I went off about the other day where Max Verstappen could have helped Sergio Perez get a better finish in the race, and the amount he would have got didn't end up mattering anyway. Now, in the final team standings, number 1, Red Bull won the World Championship this year. They have 759 points. Second was Ferrari with 554 points. Third was Mercedes with 515 points. And then the battle that really came down maybe to the end, not that exciting. Fernando Alonso had to retire with just before halfway through the race. By the way, Lewis Hamilton had to retire with 3 laps to go in Abu Dhabi. And it was the first and only time all year a Mercedes car had mechanical failure, which is actually very impressive to me, to go all but 3 laps all year and not a mechanical failure. Well done, Mercedes. So Alpine got 4th in the driver's standings with 173 points. 5th was McLaren with 159 points. 6th was Alfa Romeo with 55 points. Aston Martin also got 55 points, but they are 7th because Alfa got a higher finish of the year. Valtteri Bottas got 5th at Imola. In 8th, you got Haas with 37 points. In 9th was AlphaTauri with 35 points. And Williams got 10th in Formula One, dead last with 8 points scored, which feels surprisingly high. I didn't realize Williams ended up with 8 points this year. I felt like they only got 3, but maybe that's just me being crazy. Now, the other storyline in this race, though, was that it was Sebastian Vettel's final F1 race. He's a 4-time world champion. He drove from 2007 until 2022. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I never really saw the best years of Seb, and that makes me very sad because I started watching Formula One near the end of Sebastian Vettel's run with Ferrari. And I feel like I really missed out because I always loved the guy. I mean, he's very easy to love. He's got a cool personality. Seems like a very normal guy. I love watching him on, he was on Top Gear once with Jeremy Clarkson. That was really, really cool. And in his final ever F1 race, it's kind of interesting. He actually finished in the points. He got P10. So he got a point, which is kind of, I like seeing that. I wish I could have seen Seb, though, during his prime years in a great car. I even would love to see what Seb would look like now in a great car. I think he would be competitive. And I'm sad that I never really got to see that. I never got to see the dominant Sebastian Vettel at Red Bull or anything. And you can go back and watch old races, but it's just not the same as in the moment when you really just aren't sure who's going to win and what's going to happen. And, I think a prime example of that is Charles Leclerc very well could become a world champion in the future. He's got the talent. If Ferrari builds him a good enough car, he's going to challenge Max Verstappen, I hope, for a world title. But that's a story we don't have the answer to already yet. Whereas if I go back and watch an old season with Sebastian Vettel and Red Bull, I already know what's going to happen, and it's going to be a lot less interesting. So it's a moment in time I'll never be able to be a part of, and that makes me very, very sad. But Seb, I salute you. What a great career you had. And a fan favorite for a reason. Sebastian Vettel appeared like a guy who would have been really, really cool to get a drink with. And he's going to be forever missed on the F1 grid.